Berlin, Tempelhof Airport, July 1948. 27-year-old American pilot Gail Halvorsen stood outside the fence, looking at roughly 30 German children in tattered clothes. They watched silently as transport planes descended from the sky. No shouting, no pushing, no begging. Halvorsen reached into his pocket and felt the gum there. As an American pilot fresh from World War II, he'd been trained to hate Germans. But these kids, they made him see something completely different. When he pulled out his only 2 sticks of gum and passed them through the fence, something shocking happened. The kids broke the gum into tiny pieces and shared them with each other. Those who didn't get any simply smelled the wrappers, savoring the faint scent of peppermint. Not a single hand reached out asking for more. In that moment, this young pilot made what seemed like an insignificant decision. A decision that would change the fate of millions. To understand the weight of this story, we need to go back to those first years after World War II. In 1945, Nazi Germany fell. The Allies divided the country into 4 zones. The Americans, British, and French occupied the West, while the Soviets controlled the East. The city of Berlin was also carved up, but here's the thing. It sat entirely within Soviet-controlled East Germany, a western island in the middle of communist territory. On June 24, 1948, the Soviets made their move. They cut off every road, railway, and waterway into West Berlin. 2 million Berliners found themselves completely isolated. No food, no coal, no medicine. This was the Cold War's first major confrontation. The first real test of Western resolve. The Americans and British made a bold decision. If the roads were blocked, they'd use the sky. What followed was the Berlin Airlift, the largest humanitarian airlift operation in human history. Starting June 26, 1948, C-47s and C-54s flew around the clock into West Berlin. At the peak, planes landed every 3 minutes, delivering up to 13,000 tons of food, coal, and medicine every single day. Lieutenant Gail Halvorsen was one of thousands of pilots flying these missions. Mid-July, 1948. After days of exhausting flights, Halvorsen grabbed his camera and borrowed a jeep. He wanted to film the planes landing. That's where he found them, those 30 kids by the fence. They spoke a little English, Halvorsen later recalled. Their clothes were patched. They hadn't had any gum or candy in 2 or 3 years. They barely had enough to eat. But what struck him wasn't their poverty, it was their attitude. These kids didn't ask, "Can you give us candy?" Instead, they asked questions like, "How much can your planes carry?" And, "Why are you helping us?" One kid who spoke English told him something that would stay with him forever. "Even if the weather gets so bad you can't land, don't worry about us. We can get by on a little food, but if we lose our freedom, we may never get it back." Those words hit Halvorsen like a punch to the gut. 3 years earlier, he'd been bombing German cities. He'd been trained to see these people as the enemy. But these children understood freedom better than he did. They'd lived under Hitler's tyranny. Now they faced Stalin's threat. They knew what freedom meant. "In that moment I realized," Halvorsen said. "I'd been standing there for an hour, and not one kid had put their hand out begging. Not one. They were so grateful we were giving them freedom that they wouldn't beg for anything except freedom." When he reached into his pocket and found only 2 sticks of Wrigley's Double Mint gum, he hesitated. Would the kids fight over them? They didn't. The kids who got the gum broke it into pieces to share. Those who didn't get any asked only for a scrap of wrapper, just to smell the mint. As he turned to leave, Halvorsen made his decision. "If you promise to share," Halvorsen told the kids, "tomorrow I'll bring enough gum for everyone. I'll drop it from my plane." The kids looked puzzled. "How will we know which plane is yours?" "I'll wiggle my wings," Halvorsen answered, "just like I did for my parents when I first got my pilot's license." That night, back at Rhein-Main Air Base, 280 miles away, Halvorsen pooled his candy ration with his co-pilots and engineers. But there was a problem. Candy was heavy. Dropped from a plane, it could hurt someone. He came up with a creative solution: handkerchief parachutes. July 18, 1948. As Halvorsen's C-54 approached Tempelhof Airport, he wiggled his wings. Then 3 handkerchief-wrapped candy bundles tumbled out of the cargo door, floating down like tiny parachutes. The kids behind the fence went wild. For the next 3 weeks, Halvorsen made candy drops every week. Each time, more kids showed up, from 30 to 50 to hundreds. Then one day, a Berlin newspaper ran a photo: tiny parachutes falling from a C-54. The headline read, "The Chocolate Pilot." Halvorsen got called into Squadron Commander Colonel James Hound's office. "You got me in a little trouble, Halvorsen," Hound said. He'd received a call from Brigadier General William H. Turner, the airlift's deputy commander. Someone was dropping parachutes over Berlin without authorization. Halvorsen thought he was done for, but then Hound surprised him. "Keep doing it. Just keep me informed." Turns out, General Turner saw the strategic value. This wasn't just about candy. This was about winning hearts and minds in an ideological war. On September 22, 1948, Operation Little Vittles officially launched. When word got back to America, the response was overwhelming. Kids across the country donated candy. Candy manufacturers, Hershey's, Wrigley's, sent massive shipments. Students in Chicopee, Massachusetts made parachutes, tied the candy, and shipped it all to Germany. What started with 3 pieces of Halvorsen's candy ration mobilized an entire nation. By the time the Berlin Airlift ended in September 1949, American pilots had dropped over 250,000 parachutes, carrying 23 tons of candy to Berlin's children. Berliners gave the American planes a nickname: Rosinenbomber, the Raisin Bombers. And Halvorsen himself? The kids called him Onkel Wackelflugel, Uncle Wiggly Wings, along with Chocolate Uncle, the Candy Man, and the Candy Bomber. But this story goes way beyond 23 tons of candy. Fall of 1948, a 7-year-old German girl named Mercedes Simon wrote a letter to the Chocolate Pilot. She loved the parachutes, she said, but she was worried about her family's white chickens. They thought the airlift planes were hawks coming to catch them, and they'd stopped laying eggs. Mercedes asked if he could drop candy near the white chickens. Halvorsen tried to find those chickens. He never could. So he wrote Mercedes a letter and sent her candy through the Berlin Postal Service. 24 years later, in 1972, Halvorsen returned to Berlin as commander of Tempelhof Air Base. Mercedes and her husband Peter invited him to dinner. When Mercedes pulled out that letter, carefully preserved for 24 years, Halvorsen still remembered who she was. In that moment, yesterday's enemies became lifelong friends. There are thousands of stories like this. Halvorsen wrote in his autobiography, how grateful those children were, looking up and seeing parachutes floating down with fresh Hershey's chocolate bars. But more importantly, those candy parachutes became symbols of hope. In the darkest moment of the Cold War, they told 2 million West Berliners, "You're not alone. The free world stands with you." The Soviets tried to starve West Berlin into submission. They didn't count on America winning German hearts with chocolate and chewing gum. On May 11, 1949, the Soviets gave up and lifted the blockade. West Berlin had survived. The Cold War's first confrontation ended in Western victory. In 1974, Halvorsen retired from the Air Force after 31 years of service and more than 8,000 hours of flight time. But his mission wasn't over. In 1994, at 73 years old, he convinced the Air Force to let him drop candy over Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 1999, he did an even bigger operation over Kosovo. After that, he continued dropping candy in Japan, Guam, Albania, and Iraq. In 2003 and 2004, he advocated for candy drops in Baghdad to send a ray of hope, a sign that someone in America cares about them. Even in his 90s, Halvorsen kept flying the C-54, Spirit of Freedom, on candy drop missions. His last flight was December 17, 2019. He was 99 years old. In 2014, Halvorsen received the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor Congress can bestow. On February 16, 2022, Gail Halvorsen died in Provo, Utah. He was 101. His funeral included full military honors with KC-135R tanker flyovers and a rifle salute. After his death, Berlin's Mayor Franziska Giffey said, "Halvorsen's act, full of humanity, has never been forgotten." And it mobilized a nation, dropped 23 tons of candy, changed millions of lives, and even influenced the course of the Cold War. Halvorsen used to say, "Small things you do can become big things." It's the little things, those small acts of kindness, that guide the direction of your life. Today, when we face division, hatred, and conflict, maybe we should remember this story. Remember those 30 kids who didn't beg. Remember those 2 sticks of gum. Remember those handkerchief parachutes falling from the sky. Remember a simple truth. Even in the darkest moments, the light of humanity can illuminate the world. Sometimes, changing the world doesn't require grand plans or massive resources. Sometimes, all it takes is 2 sticks of gum and a heart willing to share.